We've all wished to become that guy who takes on a group of baddies and kicks their butts without breaking a sweat. Or other times, we just root for the underdogs that will sacrifice their life to protect those they care about with all the odds stacked against them. These are the moments that make us cheer, gasp, and marvel at the amazing animation and storytelling of our favourite anime. In this video, we'll be talking about the best one-man army moments in anime released from 2020 to 2023. First up, we have the living meat blender vampire from our favourite evil protagonist anime, Overlord. Shaltier's genocide of the Quaguas, or as I'd like to call them, the cave furries, is a one-sided slaughter of over 50,000, with even women and children not being spared from the might of the Blood Valkyrie. Killings start with Aura sealing off the poor Quaguas to prevent any of them from escaping. The leader of the demi-humans then witnesses the two floor guardians of Nazarick loom over them as they give the people an ultimatum. Keep in mind here that there are over 60,000 Quaguas and that only 10,000 would be spared. The leader of the furries watches in horror as tens of his soldiers die from each of Shaltier's swings. Being trapped in an unknown dimension courtesy of Aura, he's left with no choice but to comply, ordering his troops to select 2,000 from their children and kill the rest. The animation's nothing to be proud of, just a casual Madhouse style of using CGI in large fights, but the ragdoll of the furries caught up in Shaltier's attack kind of sells the power behind those strikes. Next is Striga fighting in day armor. Castlevania Season 4 has been nothing short of awesome, and whilst there's more to it than the fights and action sequences, it's moments like these that truly send it over the top. Feast your eyes on this eye-popping sequence of Striga just destroying everyone in sight. It's as brutal and violent as you'd expect, and I don't think maximum carnage would be enough to describe the destruction she released on everyone. The action's fluid, the choreography's on point, and you can really feel the impact every time she swings that large sword of hers. An awesome moment as one of the audience, a truly harrowing moment though, if you imagine yourself in that scene. The Lord of Decay is coming up next. In the entirety of the MHA universe, I think it's fair to assume that Shigaraki's quirk Decay is one of the most destructive and dangerous quirks out there. This is due to its ability to senselessly destroy everything it comes into contact with, from inanimate objects to biological life. You can't escape its advance if it sets its eyes on you. On the day of his awakening, a single contact from his quirk easily turned Exless into a lifeless statue, only for him to crumble away afterwards. A single activation of his quirk even managed to envelope a huge chunk of the city with his decay, rotting and crumbling away everything. May it be the people or the buildings, it doesn't care who it affects, for it only has one objective, and that's to redistribute you into the soil. Full-on senseless slaughter and destruction, a perfect quirk for the series' main antagonist. We'll be popping heads this time, because coming up next we have Makima from Chainsaw. If we're talking about one-man armies, one thing you should take into consideration is the fear and effort one displays when they're taking on multiple opponents, because enemies should feel the inevitability of death and defeat, and in this scene, it's a masterclass when it comes to those two categories. In Makima's counter-offensive against the would-be terrorist attempts to kidnapping Denji, we're treated to one of the most gruesome and awesome scenes in anime. Bodies get crushed when the inevitability of death slowly creeps up on the gang members. With no one to shoot at, no one to yell at, and no one to bargain with, you just wait for your turn to die. It's as simple as that. Makima wasn't even fighting in this scene, which just makes it more horrifying and effective. Imagine losing your entire squad to someone clasping her hands in some temple a couple of miles away. Like a looming horseman of death, her presence in this show is just borderline terrifying. A fitting character for this list, no questions asked. Rumbling onto our top 3 now, we have one of the most emotional sacrifices in the final season of Attack on Titan. Hanji's sacrifice to save her comrades from the rumbling. Hanji was a brilliant and eccentric commander of the Survey Corps who had a passion for studying and understanding the Titans. She was also a loyal and courageous leader who always put her duty and friends above her own safety. Flying out to meet the Titans, Hanji quickly uses up 2 Thunder Spears to take down 2 Titans, and seeing that the group will need more time, prepares to kill using her blades. Getting close enough to kill the Titans with blades causes Hanji to immediately begin suffering burns, but she manages to endure the heat long enough for the flying boat to take off before succumbing to her injuries. She used her last moments to unleash her inner Titan researcher and slow down the colossal Titans with her witty remarks and explosives. Hanji's technical abilities in terms of using the 3D maneuvering gear might not be on par with Levi, nor does she possess Erwin's military genius, but she does rival them in terms of willpower and courage. One doesn't simply charge towards their own death without any doubts, and this girl decides to do so with a smile on her face. If there's one thing an army fears, it's a lone individual who doesn't buckle or yield. Yes, they're going to end up taking her down, but she's not going down without a fight, taking Colossal Titan after Colossal Titan with her. Next up on the list, we have the shinobi of Iwagakure, Gabimaru the Hollow. Despite the show only airing recently, we actually got a decent amount of action scenes with the main man himself in the spotlight. Of course, those scenes portrayed his ferocity and beast-like nature of fighting very well. If you literally stack bodies into a mountain when you're doing your day job, then yeah, I think that deserves a certificate of approval. The best showcase for Gabimaru's one-man army potential is his fight against the prisoners. His biggest concern isn't that he'll be fighting you, but the fact that he finds killing really bothersome. The sudden nature that the fight starts with is so visceral as he rips and tears multiple targets in quick succession. He did all of that while being restricted, by the way, a little handicap for the scrubs, I suppose. Along with his ninpo techniques, this guy is an opponent that you wish you wouldn't go up against. Ascetic Blaze alone is enough to even take care of a dozen trained fighters. Just makes you wonder what type of badassery this guy is capable of in the upcoming episodes. Next up, we have our favourite blob of cuteness. Only in this case, he's really pissed, and rightfully so.
死ね神の怒りに焼き貫かれてメギド始ま
After the massive surprise attack that was carried out on Rimuru settlement, he sets his eyes on revenge and attempts to achieve demonhood in an attempt to revive his lost comrades. When the comic relief character turns silent for a whole episode, then you surely did something that he didn't like one bit. After the massacre, of course, Rimuru responded in kind, and there just happens to be a large army parked in his backyard, ripe for the taking for his ascension. As he gracefully hovers over the enemy's army camp, he then rained death from above as he turned the entire area into a glorified game of laser tag. With his ability Megiddo, he quickly dispatched the entire army's soldiers as he simply spectated the entire ordeal from above, without a single care for the lives he's taking, and if you consider the fact that he made an anti-magic area earlier, it just made the slaughter more hopeless. Nothing screams one-man army more than a good old-fashioned solo army wipe. The most terrifying thing in this whole scenario is the method that carried out this slaughter. Megiddo isn't some flashy big explosion magic that just wipes swaths of enemies in an instant, but a precise and accurate ray of light that's quick, sudden and unsuspecting, killing you without you even noticing. Seeing as it can easily pierce through armor like butter, like pigs to a slaughterhouse, they didn't even see it coming. And finally, our number one pick is David Martinez from Cyberpunk Edge Runners. Quite an unexpected hit in 2022, the anime showed the many ups and downs in the life of our boy David. David's ability allows him to move and be faster than everyone to the point that it looks like everything is just slowing down for him. The ability comes from military-grade cyberware that also has the grim side effect of David slowly losing his mind, or in-universe term being cyber psychosis. Then add a prototype cyber skeleton to his arsenal against the cyborg United States Army, and you'd have the recipe for the ultimate one-man army moment. Equipped with anti-gravity generators, thrusters, and arms that can control magnetic fields, David's tricked into testing out his death trap when they're ambushed and cornered by Militech agents, the equivalent of the US Army of 2077. Every cyberware put in one's body means the greater the burden and higher risk for cyber psychosis. So, as expected, the crazed and enraged David uses the hunk of metal to deliver mayhem to the soldiers in just a matter of seconds. With the creative kills ranging from being crushed to death by gravity or painted with bullets from your own gun, all the soldiers ever saw on that battlefield was a giant blur before their heads exploded. Even armored cars and tanks are no match for this flying metal demon. David slips in and out of psychosis, treading the border of sanity and becoming a literal edge runner at this moment. David Martinez is the perfect underdog that rose to the top and went out with a bang. A legend of Night City, and that's why he's on top of this list. And that ends this list for the top 10 one-man army moments of 2020 to 2023. With 3 years worth of great action anime, there are bound to be many that I've overlooked. Let me know in the comments down below, and thanks again for watching this video.